Hello everyone, welcome to Coffee Break, or should I say Beer Break today, because we're with Jen Morris, who is the VP of Communications at Anheuser-Busch InBev and based in New York. Jen, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi, it's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Now, you're in the office, it looks like, and I think you've been in the office since July. So tell us a bit about how work has been in lockdown and how your team and how the company has been operating through that.
Yes, we have been back since July in our office here in New York. I'm in a little conference room today, which is why I'm able to, talk to you without a mask on. But 85% of our workforce has been on site throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. We're still making beer and, brewing some of America's best loved products. And so that means that a lot of our workforce has been at the breweries, in PPE, doing temperature and sanitation checks and all of those types of things. And where possible, when the pandemic started, we had folks working from home, as a lot of companies did. And when it was safe to do so, we invited people back to the office if they, wanted to rejoin and come in at their leisure. Which means essentially that it's optional for our workers to come in for those who have been working from home. So I've been coming back in, and it's been great to be around my team and get some of those hallway conversations going again and just be able to talk to people and bounce ideas off of them.
Yeah, that's unusual, to be honest, from a lot of the people we've spoken to, to have, and would you say most of your team is back in the office, or is it sort of 50-50?
It's a little bit of, it's some people are coming back in a little bit more regularly. We've got some folks that have gone to, spend time with loved ones, family members, and, other parts of the country. But we do have a number of folks that are coming in at least 1 or 2, sometimes 5 days a week, depending on their home situation, kids going back to school, all of those types of things that factor in it.
Yeah, that's an issue, isn't it, for a lot of people, homeschooling and childcare. So yeah, it's probably going to be a bit of a mixed future of work, isn't it, with a mixture of in the office and work from home. But tell us about and as beer is obviously an essential service. we all need it. We all need it at this time, I think. Tell us about what the company's been doing in terms of helping out in communities. I mean, have you retooled any of your production to help out? Or I know that there's been some interesting initiatives, so just quickly tell us about a couple of those.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, beer is an essential service, but a lot of our on-premise establishments, the bars and restaurants in your communities, the sporting events have all been shut down or reduced service greatly during the COVID-19 crisis, and as part of the help to reduce spread of the disease. And so that means that a lot of our the folks that we work with, our partners, have been trying to figure out ways that they can still, serve their customers, and we in turn are working with them to help make sure that they can do that. So you might have seen, in Chicago, through Stella, we just launched a little pod initiative with some of the local restaurants to create make outdoor dining a little bit easier during the winter months. We've also partnered with the National Restaurant Association to make sure that servers are trained up and that customers are educated about what restaurants and servers are doing to keep them safe as they continue to go back to restaurants.
Yeah, and this interview will be going live the day after the election. You've also been doing a Brew Democracy initiative. Tell us a bit about that.
We have been, Anheuser-Busch has been a proud sponsor of the presidential debate since 1996. And this year is no different. So we had presence at both presidential debates and the vice presidential debate, and hosted guests, but also we worked with media partners and the rest to make sure that there was hand sanitizer at, plenty of hand sanitizer, plenty of masks, all of those types of things. The other thing that we've done is, you might remember that at the start of the pandemic, we turned some of our capabilities over to making hand sanitizer, and we delivered that through the Red Cross to communities in need. We actually did that again for the elections. So if you went to your local polling place in person, you might have seen a big bottle of Anheuser-Busch brewed hand sanitizer. And we did that in partnership with 40 different states, secretaries of states and local officials, to make sure that those in-person polling locations had what they needed.
Now, you have a background in politics, don't you? Do you miss it? Do you, as the election comes up, do you think, oh, I wish I was in the thick of it? Or do you think, oh, thank God I'm out of it?
A little bit of both. I don't miss the hours. This is the busy time for all of those folks who are, both working on the campaigns and then covering the elections. It's kind of nice to be able to sit in the comfort of my house and, watch the TV instead of, being on the trail and putting events together and living off of a bus. But I am a Politico through and through, so I enjoy watching all of the coverage.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a bit about Anheuser-Busch has such a great connection with sports, and clearly sports has been shut down a lot during the summer. It's coming back a little bit, but it's still a ways away from being back to normal. How have you had to pivot during that, and how have you managed to communicate and brand and carry on with your branding during a time like that when you haven't got those usual outlets?
Our teams are so resilient and so smart. And when we saw that sports were, stopping for the foreseeable future, a lot of our marketing folks, were looking at how can they keep those connections with consumers, but also how can they keep those connections with their own friends? Like, what are the things that our teams want to be able to do? And one of those things that, we saw was that people wanted some entertainment that they could, take part in safely in their home. And so, we did an online concert series through Light Seltzer. We did seltzer sessions at home. Our Busch team put together a weekly trivia night with the Busch guy. And we had Bud Light did a great initiative called Open for Takeout, which highlighted some local restaurants in communities across the country to encourage people to, still visit their favorite neighborhood establishment in a way that was safe to do so. And so we tried to make some of those connections with for folks so that they could continue to socialize and enjoy some of the things that they missed, so that we all love about sports, in the comfort of their home.
And I presume your sales have pivoted from bars and restaurants to more home delivery, etc. So what are the partnerships you've done to enhance that and work with retailers or online retailers?
Yeah, so 20% of our business approximately is in the on-premise, so the sporting establishments, restaurants, and bars. And so that's a big chunk of what we're talking about. We have made a point to work with our wholesaler partners, and they're through them with retailers and restaurants to make sure that we're giving bars and restaurants and others the tools that they need to service our customers. And so some of those things are like, a lot of localities have done delivery for beer, not just through platforms like Drizzly, but restaurants are now able to deliver beer and wine and do takeaway. And so those are some of the things that we've been working with. We've been creating digital menus for working with restaurants to create digital menus so that it's a little bit easier for people to order their favorite beer with their burger that they're getting delivered and things like that.
Yeah, it's been terrible to see what's happened to the restaurant industry, hasn't it? And, many of them are not going to come back, I think it's fair to say. But how do you see the future panning out? I know it's difficult to predict these days because it's so uncertain, but there is going to be a different landscape when it comes back. And what's your sort of strategy going to be to help stimulate that come back? And so you've still got those channels to get your products out there.
Absolutely. So the restaurant industry, I'll tell you, I love going to a restaurant. I miss it. I miss being able to, sit at the bar and, whether it's with some friends or by myself, if I'm on a business trip, just sitting there and enjoying a beer and talking to the bartender, talking to some friends, and just being around people without necessarily having to lead the conversation. And so just the hustle and bustle, I think we all kind of miss that a little bit.
Absolutely.
There's still going to be a place for that. And I think the one thing that we as consumers and, folks who love the restaurant and bar industry can do is to make sure that we're doing our part to support them, whether it's through delivery or takeout, whether it's by, making sure that we're still going to our favorite establishments. And most importantly, it's by following the local guidelines around dining. So if people are asking you to wear a mask, to do so, and making sure that we are all aware and following those rules and regulations so that we can help support their safe reopening and continued being able to stay open.
Yeah, now AB InBev and Budweiser and your brands are iconic and over 100 years old. But beer tastes and drinking habits have changed and evolved a lot, and you've got brands that play in those areas too. But I just wondered how you see the brand, especially Budweiser, evolving in the modern era when there's so many more craft beers or niche products out there. How's that changing the market, and how are you responding?
Sure. So Anheuser-Busch is a really interesting company because we're so consumer first in how we approach our products. And so you've seen the rise of seltzer. We actually have one of the number one innovation in the marketplace right now, Light Seltzer. And it's growing like gangbusters. It's very exciting to see. They just launched an ugly sweater pack for just in time for the holiday season. And
You've got to get this out for the season. You've reminded me there. I need to get my holiday sweater out and get it ready.
Yeah, that's right. And we've got some of our iconic brands like Budweiser that Budweiser just launched over the summer, Bud Zero, which is a non-alcoholic product. One of the things that you've seen from us recently over the last several years is a real focus on innovation and a portfolio winning strategy. That's what our commercial growth strategy is based around. And so what we're really wanting to do is make sure that we're offering consumers a variety of products for all occasions, whether it's something that's in a seltzer, a traditional lager, or something that's on the NA side of things.
Okay. Now, just to finish, one of your responsibilities is employee engagement and internal communications. Clearly, that's been key during the lockdown. Tell us a bit about how you've been handling that, how the C-suite's been communicating. Have you changed the way the CEO chats to staff, for example? And might you keep some of those things? Are there things you've done you thought, wow, this is a good, actually, we should do this when we return to normal?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's been constant, and this is not just us at Anheuser-Busch, but across all of the other companies that I have friends at, is that there's been a lot more internal communications going on throughout this process. And part of that is because there's a need to, because so many people have been, spread out and not in the office. And some of it is, and so we need to kind of help create those connections that we would otherwise have. And some of it is because we need to make sure that our teams know what we're doing to make sure that they're staying safe, and that how we're continuing to operate and drive the business forward and things like that. And so the great thing coming out of this, I think, is the amount of focus that internal comms has taken just from an overall communications industry perspective. I think that's good for all of us. The more that we can communicate with our employees, it's easier to help turn them into advocates for our companies. And so, we've taken a people first approach for our internal communications. The benefit is that we've seen that our employees have really valued our increased level, increased transparency, and just increased frequency of the messages that we're talking about, and it's resonating with them.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it? And it's like I said, the first line of external communications as well. So listen, continued good luck in the office, stay safe, And it was great to chat to you, Jen. And we look forward to the restaurant and industry and sport getting back to normal. Because I agree with you, sitting at a bar watching a game, we all miss it, don't we? And we just really will appreciate it a whole lot more when it comes back.
Thank you.